got the northern lights.
Lights.
Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo, because I'm bold, black, and addicted to Bravo. My name is Nyemade, for those of you joining me for the first time, or that African butterfly, as I'm known on social media. I'm so excited because I have some fun people joining me today, and we are going to be discussing Summer House. The season just ended, they had their reunions, and a lot of things went down this season that we're going to talk about. But before we do, I want to introduce you to my guest today. So if you guys would like to introduce yourself, it's hard because everyone's in different orders on the different screens. But on mine, Mark, you can go because you're next to me on the screen.
Well, I'm next to her on the screen. Well, hello, I'm Mark from the Pink Pop Box podcast. And that is my handle on Twitter and on the Instagram. But I am more active on the Instagram because I don't like Twitter. Twitter's mean.
I get in fights on Twitter. I get real feisty for some reason.
Oh, I don't. That's why I stay away from Twitter.
You have to be strong. You have to be tough. And I'm not.
Robyn?
Hi, I'm Robyn. I have an Instagram account. It's getting weird with Robo, all with underscores. So that's like my favorite Nene moment. And Club Bravo alum from Clubhouse from the days when we had it going on there. But you'll find, if you want to look at my stories on Instagram, sometimes I'll drop in my feelings about housewives and how it relates to everything else in the world. And Summer House is blowing my mind. And so is being here with you all. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining. Is Clubhouse dead?
I don't
like a lot of people talk about it in the past.
I don't want to say that because like I'm not there, so I can't say, but I do know that there are still people that go on for the community and there is sometimes the tea is dropped there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens, but it was an interesting moment. Someone should do a documentary.
It was.
I'm
yeah.
actually thinking about it.
You should. And then we have Nela.
Hi, I'm Nela over at Fix My Life podcast, where I am a tarot reader by night, but a small business consultant by day. And I am just a Bravo fan and what would I say? Just a busybody, big sister, know-it-all.
Yes, and we love that for you. Yeah. And Gibson.
I'm Gibson. I host the We Should Talk podcast, where I do a ton of interviews with Bravo celebrities, and you've also probably seen my tweets. I do way too many tweets about housewives and Summer House. So
never enough.
I put it all out there.
And we love it. So usually before we start these, I like to do like a game or just something fun to break the ice a little bit. So we're going to do Bravo trivia. All right. So to start with, what was the first location selected for the Real Housewives franchise? New York, Orange County, or Atlanta?
Oh, Orange County.
Orange County.
Can you make it? I mean, come on.
I'm just going to be kind. I'll be the...
Who was not an original member of the OC cast? Jody La Rosa, Vicky Gundelson, or Brandy Glanville?
Brandy Glanville.
Brandy.
She was not on that cast.
No.
She was never on that cast.
No.
What community did the original OC housewives live in? Coto di Casa,
That one.
Casa
Coto
del
de Casa.
Sol, Casa Mia.
Coto de Casa.
Hey.
Iconic.
Yeah. What sport was Jenna? I never can say her last name right.
Baseball.
Okay. What location of the series introduced the world to Bethany Frankel?
New York.
City.
New York.
I have to take it. I'm sorry.
New York City.
All yours.
What housewife is referred to as the Countess?
Luann de la
Luann.
We should have a singing contest for that one.
All right. Whom did Bethany order to go to sleep in the famous on-screen argument?
Kelly.
Kelly Cloran.
Kelly.
Here, it was hard.
Gary Island. That I watched
Gary
that
Island.
again recently. It was just as good on the rewatch.
It was the first thing I bought on Amazon that like I paid for to like own were the Scary Island episodes.
Wild.
Can I tell you, after that episode, I went out and bought a massive metric ton of jelly beans.
Just see that. Yeah,
and gumberries.
Satchels of gold.
Yeah.
What did Aviva dresser throw on the table?
Her
during
leg.
famous
The
scene?
leg.
It was Sir. Of all places, it was Sir.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was a circus show. It was a circus show, so I think that was appropriate.
Well, it's so funny because back then, because the way that I have watched Housewives, I've noticed for myself has evolved over time. Like I used to think of them as like real people, and like so like certain things would like really bug me with them. And like the first time I watched it, I was like appalled at the behavior. And like, but now I think of them as just like entertainment. Like they're still real people, but like versus before where they were more
It's more serious.
yeah, no. So like before, like the antagonists, like they would bug me because I would think of like what it would be like to deal with them in real life. And I'm like, I can't
who bugged you? Who bugged
Yeah,
you?
who
But
bugged you?
now I'm
Who
like,
bugged
oh, they're
you?
so funny. They're so funny to me now.
Who first bugged you?
Yeah, who got on your nerves?
I mean, who doesn't? No, but no, like Aviva, like
you
but like Aviva and that scene with the legs, like for the longest time, I'm like, that's so appalling. Like I just couldn't believe it. Now I watch it, I'm like, that's hilarious.
Girls, you were there with them.
Are we allowed to cuss?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that shit was iconic.
Yeah, I appreciate it now. And like people like
changes when
Nene's
you're a
now,
fan.
yeah, like ebbs
It
and
ebbs and
flows.
But
flows.
the thing,
Yeah.
here's the thing with that. It was so pre-planned. It was
Oh,
not.
it was.
But that's why it was
Spur of the
also
moment.
amazing because she thought
That's
she
why it was
was
a little stiff.
It's all so meta even back
Right,
then.
because it was already unplugged, like not unplugged, but like
Yeah.
already
It was,
undone.
it was her leg was already
You saw
unplugged.
Lou's face. Lou was like it was just,
Look, all I know, she goes, the only thing artificial about me is this. And she slammed that leg on the table. I'm like, bitch, that's what people eat.
But and growing up, that like my family would refer to Le Cirque as like it was the nicest restaurant that you could possibly go to.
It
I don't know
was.
every place they go to in New York, and definitely not boutique, whatever, which is closed, I believe. But I did know that it's like Kleenex of fancy restaurants, and she put her leg on the table. But I hated her too back then.
Yeah.
So I understand how you feel. Now it's like hilarious. It's like
now I like the problematic people like Kenya. Well, you know what though? I like problematic people who can own it, right?
Like
so there are some like
yeah.
Lisa Rinna is clearly knows the assignment and her assignment is to be a villain and she owns it. What I can't stand is when they're a villain. I can't stand when they're a villain and pretend like they don't get why people are mad at them. And Kenya used to do that, and that's why I didn't like her. But I feel like she owns it more now. So
Okay.
Well,
so
I don't
for
even
me,
think, I think
I
Kenya got
don't
a
even,
bad.
yeah, I don't even use the word villain because they're all pieces of garbage. They're all navel-gazing,
them.
narcissistic
monsters, really.
dickholes. So
Well, I'm sorry.
there are no good, there is no evil. It's all chaotic chaos for me.
Yeah.
Well,
So
But I can
so
be a
that's
monster too, so I understand, and I like to watch a show. You know what I mean? They put on a
Yeah.
show. So
Yeah.
there's
This
the
is a
thing
show
there's
filled
there's
with
never a
no
standard.
winners.
It's
Yeah.
how it strikes you. Like any relationship, really. You
Yeah,
can't
there are
know
no
who you
winners.
love. We can talk about why we love that person till tomorrow, but you can't help who you love.
you can't.
You
Who,
can break up
speaking of
with them
people
though.
people love Nene. So who introduced the world to Nene?
I
What
miss
city?
her still.
Oh, Atlanta. I was like
Yeah.
thinking Carlos King.
Oh, are we still like doing the question?
Emma, yeah, we're gonna wrap up in a minute, but
Okay.
which housewife confused the Underground Railroad?
Portia.
Portia.
Out of
Which-
respect.
Portia Luther King.
Dude, that I swear, I
265
remember that
days a year.
episode. I remember that moment, and I could not crawl into my sofa any faster or any deeper or any harder. I'm like, the white people are watching right now.
Oh my
Like, how
God.
could we do
It was
this?
cringeworthy.
No.
But it gave her such an arc because it gave her such a place to go from there. You know,
Growth.
she could
Yeah,
only
she
Couldn't go
is.
any lower.
she did.
That's
She
true.
was like my official first Black Barbie. You know what I mean?
I
A
think
big,
she's
giant dress
perfect.
up doll.
Yeah, she's perfect looking. Isn't that right? She's
Yeah.
like that thing. Yeah, I know.
Oh, stunning.
And I'm not a huge Portia fan, but I acknowledge that.
Mhm.
I think so.
I got to give Portia one thing that ain't no other housewife ever done. She dragged Kenya across that floor at that reunion.
She has her points. Yeah, I very rarely will take a side against someone. It'll happen, but it's
Yeah.
rare. I have someone on Summer House though.
Speaking of Summer House, thank
Oh,
you for
I
that
do. I have
transition.
two.
All right,
I
there
have
we go.
We are ready to talk Summer House.
So ready.
So
Do that.
the way I have it
Do that.
broken down is by like the relationships of the people, like the interactions, I feel like is the best way to sum up the ceiling.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's like, well, do we want to go scene by scene? But not really. We'll talk in groups. So first, let's talk about this whole Paige, Craig, Andrea of it all. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Mark,
Because
do
a lot
you
of
love
people,
Paige? I need to know if Mark loves Paige before we
I
begin.
do.
I knew he would, and you know what? I will stand in my truth in not loving her.
that's okay.
That's fine.
I am admittedly a Paige apologist. I acknowledge it. I admit it.
I didn't want to know before I came on how anyone stood on, because I want to stand firm in my truth. And I'm very easily, like most Housewives fans, very easily suggestible. So I will not waver.
But that's good though. I mean, I can keep an open mind. I like to say I am first of all, I acknowledge when I'm an apologist for someone. Like I will be the first person to tell you I'm not biased with certain people. But even in that, I can tell you when they do wrong. I just can't handle the people who are like, this is my favorite, so I can never say they do anything wrong. Like that, I can't do.
Hell no.
I'll tell you when they're wrong. I'll still love them and I'll still try to like spin it.
Yeah.
But I will
But
still be like,
if they did no wrong, then why would they be on the show?
It's
right.
the
If
way
they
you
did
do
no
it wrong.
wrong.
Do you hit your mark or not? Is it
Right.
great? Is it iconic or isn't it?
Yeah.
Like some people.
I say yay for Paige because she fucked Andrea.
Oh,
And I will put this out into the universe. If Andrea, at any point in the future, you need a bosom on which to lie on to comfort yourself, mine
You're there.
is available.
you guys would make a beautiful couple. You really
Oh,
would. You
would.
really
You
would.
would. Yeah, I think you
I
would.
do.
Such great
Listen,
hard candy for
I
you,
love
honestly.
a beautiful man, and I knew it. I knew it. I called it, and I will go back and find my comments. I loved Andrea from the minute he got on that screen
Winter.
because
Mhm.
yes, I
Very charming.
love me a beautiful man. I love me an Italian man.
And he seems like a
And
kind, beautiful man.
kind,
He
and
is.
he
he
loves his
listens.
mama.
Yeah.
I mean, and I understand that sometimes when men love their mamas a little too much, it can be a little, but
Hey,
but
my
at
boys
the
better love
same
their mama.
time, I just gotta say, bravo, Paige. Bravo, Paige.
Bravo,
because she
Paige,
got
that.
herself a little
Let me
bit
just-
Italian stallion.
I'll give her that. Like
Hi,
you
welcome
said,
back.
I'm very welcome back.
Yay,
I hope
he's
I hope
back.
this is better. I don't know what was wrong.
No, you're
before.
better.
I can hear you much better
But-
I
now.
love Surrey County
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All I
We're
will say is
discussing
this.
the Paige,
Paige,
Andrea, Craig.
I
and
will
giving our
say
thoughts
this.
on that whole thing.
It has become very apparent that Andrea is too good for Paige.
That's
So
not
I am
true.
glad.
I just don't think they were meant to be.
That's the side
He's
I'm
too-
on.
Those
He's-
two
he's
things
too
can be
good.
true. Two things can be true at the
Two
same
things-
time.
yeah.
And
So
both
let
of
me
those
ask
They were
you
not
all-
meant for each other, but it's what, because like I think
But
about,
he is.
you know, like dudes I hooked up with, it wasn't meant to be long term, but man, was it fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it was
yeah,
good for them.
You, she was using it.
Shoot.
So let me ask you all, because there was a bit of talk that there was a double standard on whether or not like the Austin and Lindsay Sierra of it was everyone said that Austin was an F-boy for his behavior, but it was a
Austin's
double
an
standard
asshole.
for not
He's
calling
angry.
Paige
Yeah,
one
boy.
for her behavior. So I certainly have thoughts on it, but I would like to know your thoughts on it. Like, do you think her behavior and the way that she handled Andrea and Craig was F-girl behavior, or do you think it was just dating?
No, because fuck the patriarchy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone on the yes?
Here's the thing.
Mhm.
That whole triangle, if you want to say, Sierra unfortunately did not understand she was just a pawn in that situation. They were just messing around with her
Mhm.
while they were really doing their real thing over here on the left.
Right.
And when Sierra found out about it, she was pissed
Right.
because she knew she'd been played, but it still didn't stop her from hooking up with him one more time.
Right.
You know, so I don't know. I mean, Austin must got some big.
Oh,
asset.
we'll get to the Austin part.
I have something to say then, though, but I just would like to say that I feel if there's a double standard, it came to me because I had to do a full rewatch, to make sure I knew what was going on, that when Paige is in New York City in her apartment with Craig, she's laying in bed. She does something that really bothers me. It is real. There, girls and myself, as a girl, I've done this before. I've felt that way, especially around her age, and I'm older than her. But this whole, I don't want to be like that kind of girl because it's like loserish to ask. It's not loserish to ask like Let me just let everyone know it's not the person that you're sleeping with, if it's what anything is. Right. And the thing is that Sierra is completely that girl with Austin. And so if Paige is gonna like not even turn her head to look down at to the other people at the couch, but her friend is across the way and she's forgiven her because you don't turn on a friend because they make a stupid mistake with a guy, or none of us would have friends.
Yeah.
And, so I think the double standard was there. And with Austin and Sierra, he just wanted to say to her that he didn't really want this to be a thing and he wouldn't say it. And so we got a drama on television that we love to watch. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And Austin came in the house knowing Lindsay was going to try to pull the, oh, you said you loved me when you were drunk card. So what did he do? He found the first available vagina, Sierra, to give all of his attention to for when Lindsay came in. Sorry, I hooked up with somebody else.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that there's definitely some of that. I think when I look to like specifically Craig, Paige, and Andrea, I don't agree with that there was a double standard, because I think it's called dating. I think sometimes people forget that people are just dating, and she told them about each other. So it's not like she was hoodwinking either of them. She confirmed with both of them. She wasn't in a serious relationship with either of them. I think for me, it gets into F-boy or F-girl behavior when you're not communicating clearly. Like when you pull Austin, where you're telling people different things. But when you tell them both, like, hey, we're just seeing each other, then I don't think it's that behavior.
And Andrea feel.
And also Andrea, we found out later in the season that he had been sort of on and off with Lexi.
Yes. Yeah, what did you think about that?
Take that off.
Well, I just thought it was. I mean, she seems great, but it was interesting that we didn't hear anything about that when he was acting like all his eggs were in the Paige basket. And it's like, well, everyone sort of does the same thing where you're dating multiple people. So I don't know. I think everyone tried to pin it on one person, but it's like everyone's doing kind of similar things. And so it's kind of a wash in my mind.
And to be
He's
honest,
just waiting for the best option to like rise to the top. That's really what they were all doing.
Right, exactly.
Everybody's doing in life, only they put it in a house and we're watching it happen. Because
and that's why I understood when Paige was like, so you're in love with this person. What if I had picked you instead of Craig? Like, you weren't being honest with me. Like, because she could have come in. I mean, Andrea's gorgeous and wonderful. And what if she had been like, forget Craig, I love him. And then he would have been like, oh, never mind, I love Lexi. Like, that would have been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like this.
What do you think? I mean, honestly, though, what do you all think about? Because, the Southern Charm trailer just dropped, and it came out that before Paige and Craig got super serious, it sounds like he hooked up with Naomi. But they weren't serious.
Wild.
Here's the thing. It goes back to dating. Like, it's wild. And I think that there's certain things where you're like, of course, I wish it didn't happen. But at the same time, until you're a couple, and that's the thing, I think people would try to be like, Craig's doing this and Craig's doing that. And she was like, well, I'm doing my thing too. Like, we are not dating. We are not a couple. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I can get mad at him. And unfortunately, a lot of girls will get mad at the guy, even though they're not a couple. So I respect that she was like, well, we're not a couple.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are using their dislike of Paige to
I think so too.
Discredit the way she approached the situation, and she approached it like an adult.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As much as you can. But whereas Lindsay, I do not think she approaches things as an adult at all, because she could have like very point blank gone to Sierra during Winter House and said, girl, don't you know I was coming in here to hook up with him?
Yeah, that would be too honest for her. She don't know what that is.
No, no. And but I think it goes both ways. Sidebar, fuck Lindsay for discarding Jason the way she did. Jason was a fucking prince.
You don't know what happened with them.
But with the miscarriage,
I don't care.
We have no idea.
I don't care. We got Jason and we got Austin instead.
We'll get back to that in just a moment. Gibson, what were you going to say about the Paige thing before you?
Well, I think something that they showed as a flashback to Winter House is when I just think it goes both ways. Because like Sierra checked with Austin about the Lindsay situation, but she never actually checked with Lindsay directly about it. So I think that it goes both ways. And I also, I mean, I also think that like, I think that Lindsay approaches a lot of these situations differently, because I think that she's like the best reality star on this show. And I think that she approaches things with a different point of view of like TV being top of mind. I really do think that. And so I just think that like I just think that Lindsay knows how to make the best TV out of anybody on this show. And you can't look at it totally as like a
real.
I don't know. Yeah,
well, I mean, not which is why I wish they were
real.
friends.
I think it's just I think there's just like there's more like factors going on.
Yeah, she sees the bigger picture. And
I think
Paige does also, which is why I wish they would
be
friends, not enemies, because I think they do our house together. But they do make for fun enemies.
Yeah, no,
there can't be two queens. You can't have two queens.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I enjoy it.
When you say that about the way that you got into these shows, the way you started thinking about these characters, I actually couldn't deal with this show for a while. I watched the first season and the second season, and to me it was just, I didn't really go on when I lived in the city to share houses out there. I thought these were like kind of the people that were like ruining my city. I was obnoxious. And Lindsay wasn't my favorite at all. And if you would have said to me then she's the one who's going to end up a star, I wouldn't have thought that the show would have lasted that long.
Lindsay was a lot to deal with her first season, a lot.
But she has not taken the gas off the foot.
She puts it out there, and that's what I appreciate, because if I am going to relate to a character, then I do appreciate somebody who's imperfect, because I definitely am. I've definitely had my moments where I've screamed about things that were not sandwiches and could not be on television. That 90s party gave me such anxiety, because I graduated in 1996. So no, I don't know what any of them were actually doing, except for maybe Kyle. But like, it was, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
But I think, and if we transition to the Austin, Lindsay, Sierra of it all, I think for me, always the deciding factor between someone's activity and whether they're an F-boy or not is the communication. Because I do think there's a lot of times, and this is why I wanted to do like the Paige side of it versus the Austin side of it, because there are a lot of times where like a girl will be dating a guy who's like, I'm not ready to settle down, I'm dating other people, but in their mind, they're like, he loves me, it's gonna be a relationship. So then when you find out he's with other people or he's doing other things, then it's like, he's an F-boy, but he's not actually, you just weren't listening. Now, when you're like in Austin, where you're in Winter House telling Sierra that Lindsay's crazy and that Lindsay likes you, but you don't like Lindsay. Meanwhile, you're over here fooling around with Lindsay on the back end, then yes, you are an F-boy. And I think that a lot of times that women will throw that label out there when it's not deserved, but it's definitely deserved with Austin.
I just don't get what they see in him.
Did you hear when he said that he was going to eat her front to back?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they played that 5 times. How did you miss it?
I wasn't mad about that, Steve.
He does something to these girls, because I will tell you, when he first came on Southern Charm, I was definitely hoodwinked.
I loved Austin. I loved Austin when he
lost his sister, which is very sad, by the way.
And he lost his sister. All the other guys were so toxic on that show.
Every last one
when he first came in, he was a breath of fresh air. He had a job. He loved his family. He was respectful. It was like, oh, Austin.
Hot. I don't get it.
He played basketball with Shep, and Shep got winded after 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I need my historians here though for a second to tell me this, because I've been thinking about it. I consider myself an OG fan. I watch it all live. Summer House was the only one that really I had to get into because I have my personal issues with it.
Yeah.
When did Austin become this? When did it switch? It was before
when Madison showed up in his apartment and he was having a coked out threesome with 2 bottle blondes.
So that's just when he got
well, it was before that. So there was the
Madison caught them.
I really think what it was being on the show. Here's the thing. I stand by that there are some people who should never have a level of celebrity because their personality cannot handle it and it will ruin them. And we've seen that with some people, like where it's just like like a Jill. Jill was so amazing until the celebrity got into her head.
Jill did it though.
It was so amazing, and then it got into her head. And I think that Austin is one of those. Like, he was a great guy when he had to work and when he had to be like normal, but then he worked for
a job at some point,
stuff with liquor, and like he is still kind of like building up his brand or whatever for his own beer. But I think that getting the celebrity of it all, getting the money, and just having to like not really contribute, I think
here's the thing about people who get celebrity and money like this. It doesn't change them. It just takes the mask off.
I agree with that.
Because they're freer to be themselves.
Yeah. But I do think that there's something to be said. I think that there's something to be said for, like, if you're an average day person, right, and you suddenly get money and whatever, but if you're also an average day person and now you have people who are witnessing your actions all the time, and then you have to witness those actions, and then you're also like dealing with people's reply to them, and they're cheering on your bad behavior. You're never going to change, because we all see it. When people cheer on your bad behavior, people keep on being bad. And so it just gives you a license.
That's what gets the likes when you're an asshole.
You know what? You get someone like Gibson, Mark, like, have known some of these people as they've come up along the way. I'm curious if you've seen anything that makes you think about that.
I think one thing that adds to probably how Austin has changed over the years is, if you think about like the Bravo landscape, there aren't that many straight men on these shows, right? Like, we have, like, you can probably count them on like one or maybe two hands. One hand who have stuck around over the years. And Southern Charm is like a huge deal in Charleston, which is a pretty small city. So like so Shep, Craig, and Austin, and probably some of the other guys who've been in and around that show, but like those three in particular, they've been like built up to be like almost like, I feel like they've been built up to be like almost like gods, and like this, like, it's a small city, like, and I'm not defending that. I just think that's
reality. Just reporting the fact.
Yeah, and like they get a lot of attention, from girls. Like, I got offered a free press ticket to Craig and Austin's recent podcast tour in New York, and like I was like honestly, I would never pay money for this, but like. No. But like, this is probably great people watching. I kind of wanted to just like observe what it's like whatever, like a bunch of Bravo fans in one place. So I went, and it was just like, it was a 95% audience full of women who, like, a lot of them clearly like had crushes on these guys. And you just see some of the energy around it. And I think that like, I actually think it's like the maybe a lot of the viewers who like aren't like as plugged in as we are, like online and talking about it, whenever just more of a casual viewer, they love these guys. I think the attention kind of, I think that attention can change somebody. I really do. And change maybe their outlook or like their perception of themselves. I don't know. It's a hard thing to understand.
Especially a young man.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
kind of like when women fall in love with prisoners and they try to believe that they're the best people possible, but they're in prison. Yeah. Because this is the kind of energy that I'm getting about like people like Shep and Craig and Austin.
Ciara and like, Austin in the kitchen. It's that energy.
Well, I think we're men also... in particular, we see what they've done. Women have seen what assholes they have been to the other women in their life. And they are just ready to like get on their knees. It's like,
I'm going to shift gears to what you just said. You remember in Married to Medicine, when one of the women's husbands got caught cheating, and and I forget which of the ladies said, she goes, "These women are out there and they know who you are."
True.
And she goes, "You've got to watch that." Simone. They are out there and they are waiting for these guys. And they know what the deal is. And they know what
even not famous guys, they're waiting for the cheating and they're jumping on those. And, you know, especially like a guy, I think like Shep or like Austin, who probably on some level also has been in the shadow of Shep. Shep is charming and he's educated and he's not, but he is for that area, you know. Before the celebrity of the show, Shep would have been the celebrity because of the family name, and now Austin's at that level too.
So do you guys remember how when Naomi and Craig were together, the main issue was that she was like, "Listen, I'm trying to build a normal life, and you're not trying to fit into that mold." And he's like, "I want to travel."
No,
So
she
I
was
love
not
this
trying.
conversation.
No,
Naomi didn't
she
want
was
that life.
not trying
Paige
to
wants
build
that
a
life.
normal life
Yeah.
at
And
all.
yet here she is,
No,
and yet
no.
here she is again.
She
And
That's
yet
got
here
what I
she
think
is
is
again.
really
together with Craig.
interesting.
She got together with Craig to get on Southern Charm and promote herself. The minute he started
Maybe when she
looking
realized
bad
that
on
it
TV,
couldn't last
it was
forever.
the stank was gonna be on her. So she was trying to do everything to make him go like legitimate to like being a lawyer. So she looked good on TV too. The minute he didn't do that, she
Got
dumped
a
him and
doctor.
got a doctor.
So
But then
speaking
guess
of,
what? They
So
dumped
speaking of-
her. They
So
dumped
speaking
her
of
from
Craig,
the show. So
yeah.
now she's back on the show. Fucking Craig.
Mhm.
Naomi is shit.
Everyone
Naomi
wanted
shit.
her to fuck Craig, so she fucked Craig.
She
So
did.
speaking of
I mean,
Craig and taking
everybody
it
got to
back
do
to
what they got to
Summer
do to
House.
get on TV, and that's what she did.
So speaking of Craig and taking it back to Summer House,
Sorry.
Craig is no, it's
Sorry.
okay. Craig is with Paige now. And I'll be honest, so I've always kind of been a Craig fan as well, like before. And I do think it's different, your viewership, like someone was saying, when you're just watching the show versus when you get tapped into how they are on social media and things like that. So just watching the show, except for his bad behavior at reunions, he's the worst at reunions. I did always kind of like Craig as the underdog. So when I found out Craig and Paige were together, I was like, oh, cute. Now I don't know how I feel about it. I go back and forth, but you know, like overall, how do you guys? Craig and Paige. I don't know who I just said, but like, do you think their relationship is legitimate? Do you think that it's
I
more
think it's
I
legitimate.
do.
Bravo couple?
I do.
I
Yeah.
think they want to be the Bravo couple, and I think that Craig would have wanted to be that with Naomi at that time. That's what I mean about how she was sort of, even if she wanted to portray on the show that they wanted a normal life, he wanted this life, the life he has with Paige, where they go to Aspen and they go to New York and they go to Charleston and they go to Montauk, and you know what, they're living it. And I do think that they're actually pretty good for each other.
They're made for
Me
each
too.
other.
She keeps him very grounded.
But at the same time, the thing about Craig that I just can't is the way he yells at women. He yells at women that are on the periphery of the argument that he's having, like with, you know, the word gaslighting is thrown out a lot these days, but he'll bring other people into the fire. And it's usually the girls.
Talking about
his own best friend under the bus. And, you know,
he does not, he needs counseling for
that's
that.
my
like,
issue with
I think if he fixed that, like that alone, and I don't even mean that in like a mean way, because I think everyone should get counseling, but I think that if he learned some emotional intelligence around arguing, I think that that would be hugely helpful for him, because I really feel like that's what's one main thing is like when he gets upset, he goes off. And I think just
are you talking about when he went ballistic on Lindsay? Is that what we're talking about when he went ballistic on Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of examples, but yeah, for this season,
she brought that on herself.
He uses the word
that on
stupid, you're dumb,
she
you
did
come
that.
swimming all the time. I mean,
I'm not saying Lindsay is right in that situation, but I don't think he handled it correctly either.
How he handles
it wrong at all. You don't know what day it was.
Yeah. And he went live with Tammy Laren twice. So fuck
I was waiting for you to say it.
I didn't know that.
During the Black Lives
Never
Movement,
forget.
the height of the Black Lives
dancing around it. That's the thing.
Well, it's so Southern charm. So
I know, but you're talking about like the separation of social media and the lives that
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So that's and I think that that's what you were getting at the beginning of when we started talking, that when social media became a thing and we started seeing these characters as people, they were very personal to us.
Yeah.
And we got to see what was crafted on the show, which is brilliant because the producers
know what they're doing.
Usually amazing and on all levels.
But I never thought anybody
like
on
no,
Southern
they went on Tommy Laren during the pandemic, and you learn things about Patricia you don't want to know about her political donations.
But
and
I feel like it's Southern charm though. Like we
to go without saying that.
If anything, I get impressed.
Were handing Black Lives Matters posters in their windows, and even now, fucking Patricia put on somebody's Instagram post. You won't see any of that woke stuff with us.
Oh, I
mean,
forgot that.
It's very, and you see it too with the men. I don't
forgot
really want to get into a whole lot with Southern Charm.
Yeah, no, because we got to go.
We'll
back
do
to
another
Summer House.
episode on them, and they're a whole rabbit hole to get into. But
Absolutely.
it's just, you just kind of expect it on some level because that's what
Yeah.
you're dealing with.
Well, do you like Paige and Craig together? Were you happy with the coupling?
I do. I was really disappointed with that one scene because it reminded me of the bad of him and the way that he argues. But I think that when he is being good, Craig, I think that he's good. And I think that he has a level of loyalty that we saw like when he was with Naomi. And once he falls, I think he falls very hard. And I really just do think that he needs to work on how bad he is at arguing. I think he just really needs to work on that.
I never heard him going funky on Naomi, though. I never heard any peep about him cheating.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's very loyal. I think he's very loyal, but like the way he would speak to her when he was upset and things like that, like that's what he needs to. I mean, no one's perfect, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no. The only thing that Craig ever had, he even said it. I suffered from ADD, and he wasn't taking his medication, and he was spiraling.
Yeah, and that's going to impact it too.
Well,
now, when we talk, what I was very interested to find during the reunion was when Maya said that Jonathan and Danielle were having issues, because I think we all saw them as like
when they were
this
on.
golden couple. Like, do you think that
Did
you think
call
they
him
portray that they're
Jonathan?
golden, or do you think that like
wait, did you call him Jonathan? I think his name is Robert.
Robert? Why? I don't know why I said Jonathan.
I think that's all we need to know about their
very offended
relationship.
by that. I think that there are like there's a breaking up, and then there's like arguments when you're really, really drunk.
Right.
And you're like, we're done, but you're not done.
And you leave the house and say some shit to some girls that you're just like, whatever, throwing it out there. They clearly are into each other.
Well,
and Danielle has been like around the block to know what she wants in life. I believe she's one of my favorite people on Bravo. I don't know. She really is. And she's boring.
I just wish she wasn't so deep up Lindsay's ass. If she wasn't up
deep
so,
up? So
she is so
I think she's a good friend. I think she's a good
like
friend.
they're good friends. Are they really good friends, Gibson? Is that a real?
Yeah,
they're best
genuine.
friends.
Yeah.
And I just think that she's a really good.
And it shows.
And I think that
Listen,
she'll criticize Lindsay. She'll bring shit up to Lindsay
That's
that like takes her time.
And again,
I think that's being
I'm
a good
just
friend,
going by what's on TV. I do not know these people.
Yeah.
I don't
But
follow
based
their
on
She did it all last season.
But
She did it all last
on
season with
TV,
Lindsay's relationship.
No, she didn't.
It looks
No,
like
she
she's
didn't.
up her asshole.
She did.
Yeah,
though.
she did.
It's the
She
way that
did.
she does it. I think that she wants the best for Lindsay, and they're both
Yeah, me
type A
too.
personalities. It's
Yeah.
very interesting that they fit together. But theirs is the kind of like love that Tamara and Vicky had for each other. I think,
Yeah.
or the great friendships.
Now,
I really
They'll never
feel
turn
like-
on each other.
I
They'll
really
never
feel
turn on
like,
each
and the
I
reason
blame-
why,
I'm waiting. It'll happen.
then I blame the editors, because it looks like Danielle is far more invested in Lindsay's happiness than Lindsay is invested in Danielle's happiness.
I don't think
Like
so.
Lindsay
Well-
can bounce around and go, oh, I'm so happy for you. But it's just, it's
I don't
People
ever
still
see
think
her
not
show.
balanced.
I
but
think
I feel like Lindsay requires more attention, and that's why.
Yes.
I don't think it's so much that she's more
Yeah.
invested. I think that Lindsay just has more issues to deal with,
Mhm.
and Danielle
She's
has
the
to
alpha.
help
She's
her.
the alpha in the friendship.
And
And
she needs to
Danielle's the
help-
beta.
and
And a lot of
listen.
relationships are like that.
And I
don't
thought that
feel like-
Danielle is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I don't feel like Danielle is up her butt, because I do feel like when she needs to check her, she checks her. And I think because that's the way how I am with my friends. Like, I'm not going to check you in public. Like,
Right.
I will have your back, but when we get behind closed doors,
Yeah.
I'll be like, how do you think, like, maybe you could have done this differently? Maybe you could, like, I'm not putting you out there, and I'm not going to talk crap about you in front of other people. Like, to me, that's not being a loyal friend. But
Mhm.
I will behind closed doors. And I think because we do see her check Lindsay gently behind closed doors, that to me is like a solid friendship. If we only saw her kissing her butt all the time, then I'd have an issue with it.
Yeah.
I
She
think
definitely
that
doesn't have
there-
a problem telling Lindsay she's wrong when she's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, kissing butt and loving and like having love for somebody that you express. I think that sometimes in friendship that happens. And I really think that in the situation with Danielle, it's so always so interesting to me, like with Robyn and Giselle also, why as Bravo fans, we're so suspicious of friendships. And sometimes a woman like Danielle is probably very alpha in other parts of her life, in her job,
Definitely.
other friendships,
Yeah.
in her family.
Well-
And she would like to play the other role sometimes where it's it's fun to cater to someone you love.
Yeah.
Like when Lindsay was all up it with her, like, blow dryer and whatever, and she was like, I'm living for this moment. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
My best friend would say that to me, and
Yeah.
I would believe her.
And I also think that Lindsay had a tough upbringing. Lindsay like came from she has like kind of deep rooted like trust issues and things like that around family. And I think that Danielle recognizes that and knows what kind of like love and commitment Lindsay really needs to feel that trust and to cultivate that trust with someone. So I don't know. I think that
and I see all, and I can understand where you guys would see all that. I just wish that somehow it was portrayed more on the show that Lindsay was just as invested in Danielle.
I get that.
I don't ever see.
It's part of
because Lindsay's storyline has been the same since the beginning of the show. She's had toxic relationships. We all know she goes all in, and then when she goes all in and she doesn't get what she wants, she spirals out of control, and everybody's hit with the shrapnel. So in that sense, we have not gotten any real growth from Lindsay. Whereas had somebody in the production actually focused on Danielle and how she's been,
but Danielle hasn't really grown.
I think
she's got this. Wait a minute. She had a great job. She started her own company. She got a solid, stable relationship. To me, that's a storyline.
No, I feel like Danielle has been great the whole time, though. Like,
listen, I have been Lindsay. I'm all like, this summer, I'm gonna fuck every dick.
I've been Lindsay, and I know you have too.
I'm not even mad at her. But all I'm saying is, when there is such a disparity of attention, when there could have been something else more interesting.
Yeah.
You wanted to see her console Danielle when Danielle was upset after.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted her to be more excited. I wanted her to be more excited when Robert did that beautiful birthday dinner.
It wasn't about her
that way, but she could have been that way.
It wasn't about her.
In my heart, I believe she was that way. That's like how I read their relationship.
Because when good shit
happens
to Lindsay,
that's why Lindsay didn't care.
Yeah, when good shit happens to Lindsay, you know Danielle is all about it. But when great shit happens to Lindsay, they don't.
Because she doesn't care. It's a one-sided friendship. Yeah. That's what we call a leveraged friendship. It's no.
Yeah.
I disagree, but I also think
Lindsay gets nurtured and Danielle has someone to nurture. I understand that dynamic very well.
I think it gets into something that's interesting is like, because Danielle wasn't a full-time cast member until last year.
No, she's a friend of.
Right. So I think I think it's an interesting idea is like when somebody does go from the friend of role for like 3 or 4 years into this full-time cast member role, and like they haven't done a good enough job of that balancing that, because at least in my mind, Lindsay is like one of the main characters of the show, and that's just that we've just been conditioned that way because she's been there since the beginning.
Wait a minute, wasn't Danielle a full-timer when the Workuses left? And
no,
they brought her
just came in and she was like a friend.
She came in as Charles's ex.
Yeah, she was
right, but she was still a friend.
Like a main.
She was a friend because like because up until the pandemic house, she would leave like every other weekend.
Every other weekend, she was never always there.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of hard because like even in our minds, like I weigh Lindsay a little bit higher than I weigh Danielle, just because like we've seen so much more for over the years. So that's not defending the imbalance or whatever you guys are observing, but I think it's an interesting idea. Like when somebody does come in and it's like, okay, they're given the full-time role, like how are you going to make that balance in the viewer's mind? We have.
That's what I was going to say is that they show a lot more of Lindsay because she is like one of the main characters versus Danielle.
Well, honey, she's larger than life and she holds the screen.
Right. And I think that with their friendship, I'm sure that Danielle does give that to her. I think it's also a matter of like what the producers and the editors show us based on what we think. And, like when I said like, Danielle hasn't had growth, it's not that she hasn't had growth, because we did see like when Danielle first came, she was all like, I'm going to go hook up with whoever, I'm whatever, but it'd be such little snippets unless you were looking for it, which I was, because I like Danielle, you would miss it. But I liked her, so I was always kind of following what she was doing. So she has gone from like that to this, but I don't think it's so much an uneven friendship as it's just the producers weren't showing us as much, and now they're showing her a little bit more to make us.
Danielle got Eric. Danielle got kind of edited out this year.
Yeah. Alex?
Where last year they didn't have a choice. Everybody was living in the same spot for the whole 6 weeks.
Yeah. Well, and I think that everyone was so chaotic last time. And like you said, because Robyn was saying before, or Gibson was saying before, that she would go in and out because she was stuck there the whole time. It helped us see her more, and B, it made fans speak up about her more, and that's what made them show her more, because we were all like, oh my God, they're all crazy except for Danielle. So we want to see more Danielle.
And also they just focused so much on those love triangles this year. Like it was just all about the love triangles, and there wasn't that much oxygen left in the room for anybody else.
Speaking of growth, right? So I know we've talked about it before, but the Carl of it all. So Carl
I love him.
Has had growth.
Him.
What I think is very interesting about Carl, right, is that I can't speak for everyone, but most of us have given him this grace that we don't always give guys, because Carl definitely was an F-boy. But there's also always been something about Carl where we're like, he'll turn it around. We just know he will. And luckily for us, he did. And so I also think it's interesting. And I wonder, like, the people who are still fans of like Austin, right? Like, we're so vicious about Austin, but Austin does a lot of stuff Craig used to do. And we'd be like, oh, but we love Craig.
Austin is unredeemable because he has no remorse.
Well, Craig didn't have remorse. And Craig would be like, well, you know what it was though? Craig did we would got to see Craig say, oh, Craig 2.0, oh, Craig 3.0. And I think that helps.
Can I just say, it comes down to one thing.
Guys, I'm out of it. I mean,
it really does. It comes down to one thing. It comes down to charisma. And the fact that what we're confused about is none of us really see Austin's charisma. Maybe in person, it's more evident. But when you mentioned earlier, Gibson, about the boys being celebrities, and then someone mentioned how Shep was probably before, the top of the list. He's charismatic as well, Shep. That's why he's good television.
Yeah.
So is Craig. So is Carl.
They all are, right? That's why they're on the show, even if we don't see it.
But I think it's harder to see Austin's charisma since he went full villain, not villain, but full fuckboy on us.
Full douchebag, yeah. But I do think that maybe some people will. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'll be honest. I'll admit it here for the first time.
Do it.
Don't cancel me, but like,
no judgment.
There is a part of me that hopes old Austin will come back, because I really did like him so much in the beginning. Like, I really did like him so much in the beginning, and part of me deep down inside hopes that he'll pull a Carl and that he will wise up, be like, I'm being a douche. Let me get back to being a decent person. Because I loved him with Chelsea, and I thought they were cute, and I want him to be a better person. So there is a part of me deep down inside that hopes he will pull a Carl. But I do
Carl kept trying. When does he try? When does
Carl had a lot of?
Well, we haven't really had an opportunity to see him try. We've only, because we have to remember, we haven't seen Austin in a season really of his show. Like, he's been popping in and out of someone. Like, we have to judge it once we see him in Southern.
I wonder if he'll see what's happening with Carl, and I wonder if he will be like, wow, because Carl, like, what was it, season 4? I want to say, like, people did not like him.
He was
like
the
audience was
the audience of the drugs.
Right, but I think it was that was when he was like really pining after Paige, and like it was kind of like it was a tough season, but like people were sour on him, the viewers were sour on him, and like he's had such a transformation, and it's like maybe I mean, if your wish will come true, it's because he sees what's happening with Carl, and it's like Carl's one of the most well-liked Bravo celebrities like there is, like, across any show. So
he got to go to the upfronts. Yes, I do believe that's his.
I do think that Austin, if he wanted to, could pull a Carl and could get that back.
I could see it. I don't know if he wants to.
I don't know. Exactly. I don't see that he wants to. The way he was at his birthday party was everything to me. I'm pretty sure that they were rolling, and like he was being very honest, and that is him. And I think that, maybe Craig, to me, has more charisma than Austin, or maybe Craig is just better at not being as open about his dickishness as Austin is. I don't know.
I think also Craig getting in the relationship with Paige is going to impact that, because he's not going to have his buddy who can do whatever and be stupid with him all the time.
He's already trying to paint him as the bad guy.
Right. Well, I think that that's going to impact it a little bit. And then we also have to remember, like, yes, Craig is super loved, but it's season 6, so it's 6 years of him being a fuckboy, so like Craig might take some time too,
Carl hasn't changed.
Austin might take, I don't know why I'm calling everyone Craig tonight, but Austin might take some time as well.
Yeah, Carl hasn't
everybody
changed. Carl has not changed. He just got sober and was confronted with his mortality.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And the fact of the matter is, he's only been a year sober.
So you think he's still an F-boy?
No.
Okay. Listen, the way he played Mackenzie, that was classic F-boy behavior. It's like,
how do you
here's this girl. I really like her. We've been talking. We've been dating. We're going out. I really like her.
I think it was
have her come to the show and hang out. And all of a sudden she's telling him, I really like you too. And all of a sudden he's like, wait. I got to back off.
I think she
wanted to be on the show.
If you honestly, the way he hasn't changed is that he's still horny as hell, and so is Lindsay. And when you get that, like, never forget. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. The first time they hooked up, it was like the fingering without kissing situation.
The finger banging.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Legs at this reunion, like they have that kind of chemistry, along with being best friends, and this.
I feel like that's a perfect relationship.
A Bravo celebrity, like I kind of. Like I will say this, judge me on it. I can't stand Ben Affleck, and I think Jennifer Lopez is a queen. I stand Carl and Lindsay more than Jennifer, even though
I don't. Wedding. I absolutely don't.
I just think I was really annoyed when they were saying about the reunion that they thought that it was all PR. I think they're in love. I think
they are too.
I do too.
Do you think they're gonna last?
I think there was nobody else left to go through.
Well, that's not. Hold on.
I really don't think so. Wait, am I alone here on this panel?
No, I'm with you.
I'm with you.
I love them.
I think they're good. I think having that solid, having that solid friendship is really important for having a good relationship.
Well, what I'm gonna think, what I really think happened here is they've always loved each other from the gate, but there was all this other minutia going around. And then when the music finally stopped
Carl best
playing,
friends with Everett? Weren't they like best
friends? But here's what happened. The music finally stopped playing. Everybody else was coupled up and they realized, oh my God, you're still here.
Nobody else.
There's nobody else.
I live in New York City. There's plenty of other people. I do think that they have I know people say it's impossible for a guy and a girl to be friends. I don't think it's impossible, but I do think when you are a guy and a girl and you're also very attractive and attractive to each other, it's hard to just.
I also think that, like,
they have gone through an experience in the public eye that nobody else has really gone through.
Yeah, that's
so there's nobody that's going to understand each other the way they understand each other.
Like,
and they were already
on the way to
they were already sexually attracted to each other. And it's
really hard to bring somebody.
They were friends from the get-go when she was still dating Everett. And let's remember, from the very first season, Lindsay is a liar when she says she's a girl's girl. She is always
lies.
Not a girl's girl at all.
When it comes down to it, she will stand up for a dude before a chick any day. And she did
look what she just did this season.
Yeah.
Look what she did this year.
She's not a girl's girl.
So I don't find it hard to believe that. I mean, love isn't always, oh my God, we saw each other across a smoky room. Sometimes it does take, I think some of the best ones do take years to build on, but I don't think we should be naive in thinking that somehow they also, like Craig and Paige, are somehow blind to the appeal that their brand and their package is.
No, but I think the fact that they're not blind to it is also part of why they make a good couple. Right? Like, because there are people who are blind to that stuff, and that, like, someone who's blind to that isn't necessarily going to make a great couple with someone who isn't blind.
They see their flaws. They know what they are.
They see their flaws.
They
both see that main goal. Like, because there's very few people who can watch Carl be a Carl and still want to date him. There's very few people who can sit next to their girlfriend while talking about all the dudes she's effed all summer and be like, it's okay. It's okay.
All the dudes that you are friends with, she has fucked.
My man is like that. I don't know. So but
I think it gets back to what you were saying earlier. Is like they both have this really similar experience in their life where like they're they're both reality stars. They both know that like bringing somebody else into this equation who doesn't get it, it's like really hard to make that work if you bring in a normal person. And it's like, hey, go on my Hinge date in front of the camera. It's like, no, like that's not gonna.
And then they're accused of being thirsty if they do.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I will
and
say
if they're too
this,
into it, they're thirsty.
I
Exactly.
will say this, that if they are together, particularly Lindsay and Carl, knowing how traumatized some of their backgrounds were, I really do hope that they are each other's balance that they need.
I think they will be.
At the end of it all, I do feel they are lovable people.
Her being sober for 6 months for him is big.
I think they know how to handle the holidays together. Like, you know,
it's really amazing.
It's like a trip. It's like as if they took a drug and went through the week together. They did it. They stayed sober for the first time in both their lives, probably together in this.
I root for
experience.
I'm rooting for them,
and I think that
you are rooting for them. That's beautiful. I love it.
We convinced you.
I don't like her, but I'm rooting for her.
Yeah,
that's good. We can work with that. And I do think that he is good for her. I think that he is good for her abandonment issues as well. Like he's shown himself to be very loyal and very dependable. We see the relationship he has with his mom, and I think that
we love Sharon.
I love Sharon.
We stay Sharon.
I don't want any more couples in the summer house. Like Kyle said in the beginning,
we need
more
some
couples in the
single
couple
people.
house.
Okay, so speaking of couples and speaking of Kyle, which was a perfect transition, I don't want to spend too much time on them. I don't want to spend too much time on them because honestly, I'm kind of sick of talking about them. But I do want to touch on Amanda and Kyle a little bit. I have to say that I know that it's not a popular opinion, but I have always liked their relationship because I do think that they have a core friendship. Like when they're like, don't get me wrong, they have issues. They
don't like each other.
They have issues.
They don't like each other. They're not friends.
This year has, like this summer, changed that for me. Seeing all the negative things they said about each other
under his breath.
But before it's hard to because they're underneath all of that stress. But before that, like I would see them genuinely having fun together. They like enjoying each other. Like they would fight, cheating, but
I never saw that.
I never saw that.
I'm all alone.
She was the 2 a.m. chick. She was not the regular Saturday night date.
How did she get to where she is now then? She's a regular on the show too.
No, because she wasn't on those first couple of seasons.
To get her on this regular.
She would come over after everybody else was gone.
That was like the first season. That was
that happens. They've had an arc in their relationship, definitely. I think they both disrespect each other.
Yeah. I think she wore him down. She wore him down and put up with his bad behavior enough to the point where nobody else put up with it, but she stuck around.
No, but you know why she stuck around. I know why she stuck around. I know why she stuck around. She's not stupid.
Because she doesn't want to work and she wanted to be on TV. He said, okay.
Did we talk about the amount of blazers that she wore this season? I know that it was addressed, but I mean, I got what she was saying. I was like, all right, yeah, definitely. Like if I had a body like that, I would, but it was a lot of blazers. It was sort of like how
it really was.
Like, I'm the only one who thought that their relationship is good. No one else.
No, they're going to get divorced.
I
think it was real. I think it was real.
I very much support them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I also think that, like,
but it's not good.
I think that one thing that like I have observed, at least definitely this season a lot, is like how much they don't address on the show because they don't address on the show, but like how much filming impacts the relationship, the presence of cameras impacts the relationship over the weekends, and like it's really hard because we pretty much only see the weekends, and so it's like. But there's so many times when they'll be or somebody will bring up like the prenup, or somebody will bring up something like that's like they don't want to talk about, and then one of them will be like, "I'm not talking about that right now. I'm not talking about that." And what they're really saying is, "I'm not talking about that on camera." And so like they want to save it for the week, or like they always talk in like the closet where the cameras aren't there and stuff.
Are they allowed to do that?
They're not supposed to, but they
still know. They still know the audio is being recorded, but like I think that the cameras impact them in a way that like isn't really observed that much, and like it's so hyper concentrated. I don't know, I'm trying to think through it honestly, but like I've really noticed that this season in particular is with the prenup stuff where it was like we're not talking about that right now, like they shut it down.
I feel like they probably have a better relationship. Well, first of all,
I think
they have a better
They do.
relationship when Carl is, or when, oh my God, when Kyle
You are
isn't drinking.
fixated on
You would think I was
Carl,
drunk
girl.
right now. Like, I swear I'm not. I'm sober.
It's fine.
Something.
You're fine.
But
Mercury
they
Gatorade
have
or
a
something.
better relationship, I think, when Kyle isn't drinking as much. I think that
Kyle-
Which is most of the time. Which is
huge.
most of the time.
Right.
Not during the
Does not
summer. They
like
don't really go.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
He's
think
a-
that
he's
probably,
a
like, we're also
misogynist.
seeing him, like, he still has his, it's the weekend, let's party. Like, I don't think he drinks that much during the week, and I don't think he parties as much, so it's probably a different dynamic
He
as
probably
well.
shouldn't party at all.
Well, he probably
But their
shouldn't. He's still-
their
think
job
that
that their entire
drinking-
business is set up on
I don't
it
think
makes
it's
them
the
party.
Well, I
drinking.
understand.
If
Well,
you don't respect
Mark
your
understands
partner,
that,
it
but-
doesn't.
but-
Yeah, if you
but
don't
what I'm trying to-
respect them, your partner, anyway, the drinking doesn't
He
matter.
doesn't
And
like women.
No, he's very condescending to her.
He's
and
very
that is
condescending.
what's
Look what he did to
troubling
Hannah
all
last
women.
year.
Yep.
Look what he
Yeah.
did to Hannah last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
He bullied her off that show.
Well,
The
she did a
thing-
lot to herself, but let's not get
Oh,
into
honey, the
kinda-
thing
He
It's kind of a
Yeah.
one-sided thing.
So I do
Yeah.
want to ask, do we have anything we want to say about Luke? Because I don't really. Sorry, Luke.
Who?
Exactly.
I don't.
Well-
The only thing I would say is I do not believe that there was really chemistry between him and Maya, and I think it
Yeah.
kind of gets back to what you were saying
I don't know
before
who
about
said that.
how that what. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I don't know who said. Yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
on
They
the
were
news.
he
like,
said
they-
there's
I think it was
chemistry.
like a
We're
fake
what?
tweet that he read, that Andy
Yeah.
read, but he was like, but that's the thing, is the energy of the show is becoming a little bit like how the real world became at a certain point, where
Thank
putting you
you.
guys together to hook up. Alex is
Mm.
Alex, hook up with Sierra, Sarah.
Right.
Am I interested in Carl? Or
You don't need all that.
everyone hooked
No.
up with everyone has hooked up. They like tried to shame Danielle at the reunion for hooking up with Carl. I love a light hand job over the pants, by the way. But everyone
Oh,
hooked up
so
with
much better than a
Carl.
regular hand job.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's just in the back of the cab.
I don't like
He loves
this.
the back
I
of
don't
the
like
cab.
this.
I feel like he doesn't really bring. I'm not a
Anything.
huge fan, but he's not awful. He kind of grew on me. I did like that he called out
Gotcha.
Sierra on the situation because
Me too.
I always thought the way, even though I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Sierra fan, but I definitely thought the way she handled the Luke thing last year was wrong, and I was glad that he brought that up.
Don't call her
and
after
called her out.
9.
Please.
No, but it's again, it goes to a double standard, and then it's like, he's called all these names, and he's the fuck boy, and he calls after 9, but she is, maybe she's in love with Austin, and she can't help but put it in his face because they're on a show together. But that did happen, so
Well,
don't.
I do think, and just to really quickly touch on that again, but like, I do think that Sierra, as much as, we can say like Austin was telling her different things and blah, 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 which he was, but at the end of the day, like, this guy who you were talking to, who told you that this girl was crazy and that you don't want to talk to her, is
Thank
still
you.
talking to her, obviously,
Yep.
is coming
Yep.
down for
Making
her
out with her in
birthday
front of
weekend,
you.
is kissing her in front. Like, it's not all like, yeah, Lindsay was definitely playing a game a little bit, obviously, like, she
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to show you. But at the end of the day, like, open your eyes, girl. And sometimes I do have to remind myself that like, there's a 10-year difference between Lindsay
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
Lindsay and Sierra. And I do have to remind myself that she's only
They're
25.
not on the
Amanda.
same level.
They're not the
at
same.
all.
Yeah, but it's still like,
not the
It's
same
not a
thing.
fair
it's
fight.
still
And
like,
they
sweetie,
don't
like,
like each other, even
Yeah,
though
they
they're the
aren't
same age.
friends.
They
Yeah.
do not
Yeah.
like each other.
At
And they were
all.
going to use that Austin rag doll to fight over
it was more
something.
about them than it was ever about Austin. It was like, who is going
100%.
to win?
Didn't you guys
100%.
want, like, at the reunion when Andy asked the question of Sierra, like, did you give it to him as much as you gave it to Lindsay? She said, oh yeah, a month ago I really gave it to
Lie.
him.
Yeah.
Where are the
Lie.
cameras?
Yeah.
Like
the cameras
that,
weren't
that's
there.
Well, that's
what
why-
I
No.
see.
That's why it's
No.
like just such BS. I know like they had like a flight delay or something, but like the fact that they didn't ensure that Austin and Craig were at that reunion just like really
I didn't even know
it's like
that.
it bugged me because like they were supposed to be there.
They
but
were
got-
supposed to be there.
Their flight
what?
was delayed. Their flight was delayed because the podcasting that I went to was the night of the reunion taping, so they taped it all
okay.
day.
That was a wild
Oh.
show,
They were
wasn't
coming
it?
to her, but I'm like, but I was just like, why don't you make sure they come the night before in case something happens to because to me, like, this entire season revolved around these two guys.
It
The
really
drama that
did.
these two guys started, and so it's like, so with them not being there, they don't have to answer to anything, and then two,
Yeah.
it leaves all the women to fight over it again. Because like what happened this season is like they would come in for a weekend and not come back for 6 weeks, and it's like, well, it's like there's no resolution there, and that's
Craig would
I don't know. It really bugs
like,
me.
I'm not coming back now, babe, because you made out. Like they could,
right?
they
But
could
then like
call the
they like come
shot,
in, cause a firestorm, and then just
and
like
leave.
leave.
Yeah.
It
So
sucks. I don't know.
one question that I had. Oh wait, before my last question.
What justice for Alex? Justice for Alex. Bring back Alex.
Thank
I
you.
think
I don't think he added a lot, but I don't think he was so annoying that I wouldn't mind him being back. Just
I need him back.
Did you like him in the reunion? He brought it in the reunion.
He said like one good line.
He said one good line.
I don't know.
I do not believe that was it. I mean,
I would rather have Jules back than Alex back, but
I want Jules and Alex back.
Yeah.
I don't think
Alex showed any promise.
We're gonna save Kyle and Amanda, Carl and Lindsay, Craig and Paige. We send them over to Lifetime Television to Marriage Boot Camp, and then we keep all the single people at the summer house.
So that transitions into my last question, which was, do you think that Summer House is really sustainable having the same cast go on forever?
No, they've got to change it out.
At some level, because I do feel like, yes, it's fun watching like friends get together, drink and do stuff for the summer. But like when you're watching a bunch of like 25-year-olds, late 20s, it's one thing. When you're watching like almost 40-year-old Kyle get like blackout drunk just because it's the weekend, it's not cute anymore.
No,
I do feel like at some point, like I would actually almost like it if they would take the OG cast, transition to showing us their city life. I want to know what they're up to in the city.
Exactly. I want to see Dan. I want to see how move in with Carl. I want to see
they need to
being a nightmare pregnant. I want to see all of that, but Summer House as a concept.
Call it New York Nights or something like that, and I just focus on their life.
Because I like them. I just don't think
they should do what they were going to do with Vanderpump Rules, where they turn the OGs off, make a new show, and then do this.
Is that what's going to happen with Vanderpump now?
Yeah, no. That's when Stassi like came out of hiding and did like her book tour. She said that they were going to do Vanderpump Valley or something like that, and that was the plan. So to have all the OGs go onto a new show and follow their lives, like we kind of want with Summer House eventually, because it's like, okay, if somebody gets pregnant, they can't be going to this, like they get like bringing a baby to Summer House.
Carl is literally sober. I don't want to see him around all.
Like I love Carl, but like I don't want to watch you do meditation. Like I love you, but like
that's not what I think the hard
is that wrong?
Yeah, Stassi can stay in her hole as far as I'm concerned.
No, Stassi can stay.
No, we're not getting into Vanderpump.
No, we don't have to get into that. I just think that the concept of what they were going to put the show into, because that last season of Vanderpump, when they had like 20 cast members, like it didn't work clearly. So
again,
I love the
Menudo, keep bringing them in out. Like Menudo, bring them in.
Can I be honest? Last year when Carl's brother passed and he came back to the house. And he quarantined, because he couldn't come right into general populace with everybody. I think that is when he won me over, because I've never seen, in all the years he was on there, it was the first time I ever saw him legitimately just devastated. And he was more human and more real than any reality moment I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it was the nicest I've seen anybody in that house towards anybody in that house. They gave him some grace to get it together.
Yeah.
And I think that was the wake-up call he needed.
When someone shows vulnerability on a show like this, like that's why that conversation that Maya and Sierra had with the house was
that was beautiful.
So amazing. That was still the best moment of the whole season.
It really was.
I think of the whole network, because they were the only ones that could manage to get it together. And they had that. It was a great.
We won't talk about.
But they were being vulnerable. That's why it worked.
So shameless plug. There is an episode of Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo where I talk with Quinn and Emily, and we compare how Beverly Hills in New York dealt with their race conversations to how Summer House dealt with theirs. So you should find that and check it out if you're watching this, because that was a really good conversation.
To continue the conversation about like the cast and how it should look, I think that my one question though, I don't know what you guys think, is like, I think remember how Summer House was, like you said earlier, like Summer House, the first 2 seasons was like not a good show. Like it was, like it wasn't, it took till the third season for them to really find their groove. And so I'm sort of thinking like, okay, but if they do replace a lot of the people eventually, I think part of the reason why we grew to love it was because we've been on this journey with these people for so long. And so it's sort of like, if you give me a crop of 6 new people, I'm not going to love it right away, I don't think, because like I like to feel the investment in the personalities. And
totally. And the
I don't know.
I don't think we need to switch over the whole cast. I think it needs to be like a slow integration.
Like segment in and out.
There needs to be
really great, but like
person at least, or 2 single people at least that we care about.
Definitely some single people.
Like
definitely.
Kyle and Amanda are great, but Kyle and Amanda can go. Like, thank you, we loved your life, but you can leave. And quite honestly, if you want to have a separate show,
in that board, they could take the headboard with them too, because that headboard was aggressive.
Take like Lindsay and
whatever that tree had been through.
Redecorate.
That's a headboard you need in Wyoming.
I do feel like Paige can hold it. I feel like Maya, we're getting invested in her.
Sure.
I love
Even
Maya.
if you wanted to bring back Alex, Andrea, you could bring Andrea's girlfriend. Like, I do think there's a way to cycle people in and out where we can still enjoy them.
And
seriously,
give Carl and Lindsay a spinoff and send them away. Like, give Kyle and Amanda a spinoff and send them away. We can do 7 or 8 years of Don't Be Tardy. We can definitely give them a spinoff.
That was a nightmare.
It's
if
also
you're gonna
because
spin
like
it
when
off,
you think about
spin
it,
off all of them together though. Like take
take 5 or 6 together.
Do it at the same time
show
too. I think if you're gonna do it at the same time. Do all of them together.
Yeah, like I would love to watch Summer House followed by Them in the City, or the
it's Summer House Legacy, like Roni Legacy is gonna be. It's Summer House Legacy.
That would be fun, especially because like
I want
for
them
example,
to go
when
on
they
vacation with Mary to medicine and have to do one of Dr. Jackie's.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Right.
But could you imagine like a Summer House vacation? Like if we're following their life in the city and then they go to like Turks and Caicos together, like that'd be messy and fun, you know?
That would be fun. Like I wouldn't mind seeing them wild out like
I need to see them all move in together and like
that'd be so fun. I would love that.
I'd like to see them like on a vacation. Like I'd like to see them.
I know the vacation.
The Legacy is doing their real thing in the city, like almost like their own little version of Housewives, but it's like
totally
Kyle, like Robert and Danielle, Kyle and Amanda, and Lindsay and Carl.
Robert's an Aspen right now.
I would totally watch a show with the 6 of them. I want to see their lives.
Maybe bring them all to Aspen.
After this Beverly Hills episode, I ain't never going to Aspen.
Wait. What happened with him going to Charleston? Because somehow I thought
that fell through. That fell through.
Yeah, he's.
I really was
convinced.
I was really convinced he was going to be in Leva's show for some reason.
I thought he was going to go to Bonaparte. I thought he was going to go to Bonaparte, but no, whatever happened in Charleston did not work out. So he got a job as an executive chef out in Aspen, and that is and he commutes.
What a life!
Once a month.
Aspen in the winter, that's fucking money, honey.
Yeah, must be a tough life.
Overall, I just really feel like also as they get older, like because I remember when they were arguing and they were talking about the prom dresses, and Kyle was like, "I have serious life things going on." It's like we don't care. Like that's not the purpose.
We want to care about.
We want to hear about the prom dresses. We want to hear about the stupid party.
Totally.
We don't want to hear about.
Oh my god, my
stuff.
favorite game was like laughing every time Kyle cried. Every time Kyle cried.
Oh my god, whatever.
None
of those tears was real.
You know what I love that if you are a Bravo fan and you say like I love Kyle because Kyle cries so much, you could be talking about either Kyle.
I'm not talking about any Kyle. Anyone named Kyle on Bravo cries.
I am a crybaby, so I don't judge. I cry at the drop of a hat. I can't help it. I don't want to, but if I'm mad, I cry.
Same. I'm a crier.
I'm a crier too. That's not the issue with Kyle. He's a crier. That's not the issue.
Well, I can't thank you all enough for joining me on this
so
Friday night.
Oh, this was great.
It was a good house party.
We like talk every night.
I enjoyed it. I would love for you guys to share again, like where people can find you, if they want to check out your platforms.
Same order as before. I don't know.
Sure. It's changed a little bit. Yeah, but sure, Mark.
Hi. Okay, Mark I'm at the Pink Pop Box on Instagram and on Twitter, but I'm more active on Instagram. And I'm on Facebook, but I'm hardly ever there because it's Facebook.
And then I think it was Robyn.
I am on Instagram way too often. I don't want to show you. It's _getting_weird_W_robo. Just because it's my personal account, but I talk a lot about housewives and have a lot of opinions about it. I'm also on Twitter as Robo Extravaganza, which I'm really only saying because I'm going to write to you guys all on Twitter later, and I want you to know who I am. You guys, at least.
Perfect. Nela?
And you can find me on Instagram at Fix My Life Podcast, where I do free tarot readings every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Love her.
Just come on over for some Big Sister Tarot, and I can tell you what to do with your life.
And Gibson.
And you can follow me at Gibsonoma, GIBSONOMA, on Twitter and Instagram. And then my podcast is called We Should Talk, and it's wherever you get your podcasts.
Perfect. And then I'm Nyemade, or That African Butterfly, and everyone's links and everything will be included below. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it in podcast format, you can catch it any place. And I basically live on Instagram, but I do lives about a variety of topics. So if you like learning things like me, like a nerd, or just learning about interesting people, you can always find me on Instagram talking to somebody. And thank you so much for joining, and you all have a great day.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Until next season.
I roll one with you by my side.